What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Eclectic Beard Reactions. This go around, we got the one-eyed scout who liberated a whole town by himself. So this is the story of Leo Major, French-Canadian. So this was actually something that was recommended in the comments. Now I'm trying to take and find the one, the third one by Jeremy Clarkson, the convoy one. So until then, I figured this would be interesting to take a look at, something that was recommended. So before we go any further, like, subscribe, notification bell. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Leo Major, the one-eyed scout who liberated a whole town by himself. World War II. In World War II, for the Canadian effort, one soldier stands out from all the rest: Leo Major. He was a French-Canadian from Montreal, Canada. In 1940,
I love the look they've got for him. We got the gun on the back, you got two guns on the side, almost gives a Rambo-ish type look. With the eye patch, no less.
He was a French-Canadian from Montreal, Canada. In 1940, at the age of 19, he joined the Régiment de la Chaudière of the Canadian Army. Their insignia underlines their fierce fighting reputation, consisting of two crossed Vickers machine guns with a beaver above supporting fleur-de-lis. Private Leo Major first saw action at D-Day in France, taking part in the Normandy landings on June 6, 1944. Straight away, he distinguished himself as a scout behind enemy lines by capturing a German communications half-track full of secret code books. He then forced the...
That's pretty impressive. Not only does he make it behind enemy lines, but he finds their code book, basically.
Captured crew to drive the Hanomag towards friendly lines, but was fired upon with anti-tank guns by British and Canadian troops. Leo had to climb on top of the vehicle to get them to stop firing as they drove closer, and later remarked how happy he was that the British and Canadian soldiers didn't know how to shoot. When the...
He's happy they didn't know how to shoot. I bet so.
English officer asked Leo to hand over the Hanomag. Leo refused outright, stating that it was a Quebec man who captured it, and so it was handed over to the Chaudière Regiment. His war was nearly cut short when a few days later he was scouting ahead of his unit. Leo unexpectedly encountered a patrolling elite Waffen-SS unit. In the ensuing firefight, he managed to kill 4 of the enemy soldiers, but one of them, fatally wounded, managed to throw a phosphorus grenade, and Leo was hit, damaging his left eye badly. Leo was then sent to a field hospital for treatment. Leo had to wear an eye patch while his eye healed, and he remarked on how he looked like a pirate. Remarkably, he refused to be sent home.
So that's, again, somebody of a different grit right there. That's different makeup.
Stating that he only needed one good eye to aim a rifle. Quickly, he returned to the front line and continued to act as a scout and sniper for his unit. Shortly after returning to active service in October 1944, he was involved in the month-long Battle of the Scheldt in Holland, which involved much heavy fighting and several amphibious landings. One day during this prolonged battle, Leo's commanding officer had ordered him to find the 50 zombies who had gone missing on patrol earlier. Zombie was a slang term used by Canadian volunteers for unenthusiastic, inexperienced Canadian conscripts in the war. Leo was carrying out the reconnaissance by himself, as always wearing PT sneakers instead of heavy boots. He was deep behind enemy lines in the dark, in freezing cold rain, muttering to himself, "I am frozen and wet because of you, so you will pay."
You have somebody muttering to themselves about being, number one, cold, but you add wet on top of it. He's out looking for you. You got every right to be pissed. If he'd have took him pistol whip them fellas he's looking for. They all deserve it, in my opinion.
Drenched to the skin while not finding the zombies, he did come across a garrison of German regular troops, sleeping in trenches that they had been digging all day. Noticing a snoring German officer, Leo woke him up, pointing his Sten gun at him, and then motioned him to order his men to follow him. One soldier raised his rifle and was shot dead by Leo, followed by 3 others who joined the firefight. After this, he shouted, "Achtung!" and "Handen hoch!" and the garrison quickly decided to surrender to him. He then single-handedly marched 93 German soldiers back to the Allied lines.
One dude, 93, sir. Oh my God. That's a badass. You one dude and you get 93 people to actually, like, all right, cool, we're done here. Bruh, props. That's all I'm going to say. That is like a different... you watch him kill 4 people. So, I mean, it's not like he's... at that point, you know not to mess with him. Like, holy crap.
But on the way there, they were attacked by Waffen-SS troops manning an artillery battery from a neighboring village, who were infuriated that their fellow countrymen were surrendering. This left a lasting impression on Leo. The Waffen-SS unit managed to kill and injure a number of the German prisoners before being driven off by an Allied Sherman tank. Leo then handed over 93 German prisoners to his speechless commander. For his act of bravery,
I'd be speechless too.
Leo was awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, which is the second highest award in the British and Commonwealth, the Victoria Cross being the only one higher. But surprisingly, he declined the medal, feeling the British commander, General Montgomery, who was going to present him with the award, was incompetent and therefore in no position to give him that medal.
What?
Then in February 1945...
Bro, that takes like... This dude is like... He's like balls. He's balls with legs. That's all he was.
As his unit was fighting in the Rhineland in Germany, the Bren gun carrier he was traveling in hit a mine, wrecking the vehicle and killing all its occupants, except Leo. He was severely injured, including 2 badly broken ankles, 4 ribs, and his back in 3 places. Leo again refused to be shipped back home, and after a short spell in a Belgian hospital, he returned to his unit in time for their final attack to clear Holland of the last of its German occupiers.
Dude was mangled, basically, and was like, nah, I'm not going home. Like, that's the type of grit and determination right there. That's a different breed in and of itself. Just, holy crap.
So, on April 13, 1945, the Allies were preparing to attack the large Dutch town of Zwolle, but were unsure of the strength or deployment of the German forces in the town. That evening, Leo and his friend Corporal Willie Arsenault volunteered to carry out a recon of the area. The city was planned to be bombed by Allied artillery, and this is something Leo and Willie wanted to prevent. When the two approached the outskirts of the silent town, the Germans spotted Willie after his grenade bag made a rattling noise, and he was killed by enemy machine gun fire. Leo took 2 of them out, but the others fled in a vehicle. He then took his friend's Sten gun, an extra bag of grenades, then laid his lifeless body on the side. So enraged was Leo that he would go on a one-man rampage that lasted the whole night, using his submachine gun and bags full of grenades. He hijacked a nearby German scout car, disarming the driver and taking his MP-40, adding a 3rd submachine gun to his inventory. Leo made him drive to a hotel, then entered a bar. There he disarmed a German officer who could speak French to Leo, and he made him aware that the town was to be bombed by Canadian artillery, which would result in German military and civilian casualties. The officer understood, and in good faith, Leo handed him back his pistol, allowing him to drive off in the hopes that he would evacuate his troops rather than rally an attack. Leo moved around the town for a few hours in the dead of night, firing on any German units he came up against, throwing grenades and making as much noise around town as possible.
He just one-man wrecking crew by himself. Like, not only has he taken over 90 people prisoner before this, I mean, he code books and just now he found a German officer who spoke French, trying to convince him to get his men out to prevent as many casualties as possible. And now he's just going through raising holy hell. Great goodness.
His idea was to confuse the enemy into believing that they were under attack by a far larger Allied force storming the city. He proceeded in killing or capturing German defenders as he moved from street to street, using the local river and church as reference points so as not to get lost. Every time he had enough prisoners, normally between 8 to 10, he would march them back to the Allied lines and drop them off, before returning to the town to carry on his one-man assault. He is reckoned to have done this around 10 times.
Bro, so between 80 to 100, that's almost 200 people by himself he took as prisoner. Just one person.
4 times in the night he had to force his way into civilian houses to rest. Although terrified by his initial appearance, once they understood he was Canadian, they looked after Leo. During his rampage, he also attacked and set light to the Gestapo headquarters, further adding to the confusion. Then, finding the SS headquarters, he engaged in a firefight, killing 4 SS officers inside. Then, later, Leo came across a group of townsmen by chance. This included a local policeman by the name of Frit Kuiper. All of these men were secretly members of the Dutch resistance. Leo then explained to them that the town was liberated. Then the group went on to take the town hall and bring the civilians out onto the streets.
Oh, that is awesome.
By 4:30 a.m., the German garrison had fled the town, and Leo had single-handedly liberated Zwolle.
Dude was a badass.
Leo retrieved his friend Willie Arsenal's body and returned to his unit, who had yet to advance into the town. On that morning of April 14th, the Allied forces entered the town without a shot being fired and without the loss of civilian life from the planned bombardment, due to Leo's outstanding bravery the previous night. For his heroism above and beyond the call of duty, he was again awarded the Distinguished Conduct Medal, and this time he accepted it. After the war, Leo left the army and returned to civilian life to resume his old job as a pipe fitter.
Okay, that explains a little bit. I don't know if you've ever worked construction, but pipe fitters are crazy. This guy, and I say that jokingly, this guy right here is just an absolute badass.
With the start of the Korean War in 1950, the Canadian Army joined the United Nations forces in fighting the Communist Chinese and North Korean invasion of South Korea. Leo, though only 29 years old, was seen as a veteran with a special skill set and was recruited to rejoin the army and become a member of a special scout and sniper team. Then, in November 1951, the Communists attempted to take some strategic important high ground just 40 miles away from Seoul, the South Korean capital. The fighting was based around the vitally important Hill 355, nicknamed Little Gibraltar, and Hill 277. Chinese troops had captured it from the Americans, and Leo was to recapture and hold the hill. The fighting raged for days, and the Canadian commander, Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Dextraz, declared, "In the event the battalion is attacked, there will be no withdrawal, no platoons overrun, and no panics."
That's setting a very definite line in the sand and a set of orders. Like, there's no retreat. You either take it or you die.
During the battle, Leo commanded a unit of around 18 men, repelling whole Chinese divisions while enduring heavy artillery and mortar barrages for 3 days. Even though Leo had been ordered to retreat when the Chinese divisions counterattacked, he refused. Instead, he demanded that the commander of the mortar platoon, Captain Charlie Forbes, rain mortar fire on the enemy. The mortar fire was so close to Leo's position that the commander could hear the bombs explode when Leo spoke on his radio. And it was so intense that the mortar barrels warped from their rate of fire. For his valor and leadership under fire, Leo was awarded another Distinguished Conduct Medal for capturing and holding the key hill. Leo was the only Canadian to win the Distinguished Conduct Medal in 2 separate wars. He lived a quiet life afterwards and in 2008, at the age of 87, passed away, having been married for 57 years and having 4 children.
Yeah, he was badass. Just, there's no two ways about it. Badass. Just, hands down. Over 200 people by himself. Took prisoner. Like, liberated a town by himself. Just told everybody, no, just stay back, I got this. Like, great God. This was really cool. This was definitely one of those. This is one of those stories right here that's just, it's a man among men. Simple as that. So, y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.